So how then do you distinguish um, a Kush or a Blue Dream that starts out as one thing and maybe becomes something else in another environment? You know, would the
So those are called phenotypical expressions.
okay,
So you can see that. Science shows you that. So Lele's Kush is going to be different than Patricia's Kush.
okay,
Maybe not an indoor environment, if you're really replicating that, you're going to be pretty close. But if you're dealing with an outdoor or a greenhouse, then you're going to see variations. And even the processes, if you and I do grow indoors in the exact same environment and our processes are different, you're going to see a slight variation in that. And we have already, through the legacy project, we've been building a pathway to also empower these genetics through an auction. We've discovered within our community a skunk that has a very unique allele in it, which is a link in the DNA chain. We don't know exactly what that allele does yet because there's more research in it. But just through the first cultivar that we took through this process, we've found something really unique and special, which is exciting.
wow. So it actually puts breeders and growers in a much more powerful position, you know?
Yes. Well, that's what I like to say whenever I get the chances. We are putting the power back into people's hands
Yeah.
because now the creator all of a sudden is sought after again. And now, as this market matures, we're already seeing it. The need for genetic diversity is absolute. We right now we only have certain mostly indoor genetics in the legal marketplaces, and they're not that stable. Older outdoor genetics that have been more researched and more hunted are way more stable, and you can count on them, and you can build much stronger, more successful crops. Then you talk about the medical diversity. Like as a patient, I started understanding all this back in 2009 when I started growing for myself. I've always been involved, but I never grew for myself.
Mhm.
And I realized that I had different environments and the medicine was different in each environment, and that how some strains I didn't like growing and I didn't like smoking, they didn't help me as well. And so I had to start looking at what we called back then strains. Now we call cultivars because that's the correct term in plant world. um, and how important it is not just to a patient, but if you're really building a brand and you're putting a product out there, to consumer loyalty, because consumers want to know that they're getting the experience that they're buying. And when you start honing in on the genetics of the plants that you're using, you get much better at replicating that experience. And that's how we beat big pharma. One of my best friends, she's a formulator in the industry, and she's always saying consistency is how we beat big pharma. And genetic stability and knowing your genetics and finding the right genetics for your product needs is how we create that and beat big pharma.